Okay, we are going to talk about the AP Calculus exam and some important information you need to know about it and kind of keep in mind all year long. So I recommend that you buy an AP Calculus study guide and that you use it all year. I really don't care which one you get. There are a ton of them on the market. A good one that I know of is Be Prepared for the AP Calculus exam. The authors are Mark Howell and Martha Montgomery. This price is not correct. It does not cost $18.16 anymore. I believe it's $21 and some change, so they have gone up. It's a little bit more than $21, but it's a good one. It's on Amazon, and you can even buy a used one, I think, for cheaper. Or you can buy a different one. I've never really seen one that I thought, oh, this is a horrible one. They all have good calculus problems in them. I don't care which one you get, but I recommend that you get one and that you do some practice problems, that you take some practice tests as we go through the year. They're going to break down every topic that we learn and give you extra practice to work with. So don't just buy it and leave it on the shelf. Buy it and read the examples and work the practice problems and check your answers and use it as an opportunity to get some deeper understanding and more practice and confidence in your skills. On the AP Calculus exam, if you don't know the answer, make an educated guess. Don't leave the problems blank. Especially true on the multiple choice. There is no penalty for guessing. A wrong answer is marked just the same as a blank answer, so it's not to your benefit to leave them blank. If you kind of keep an eye on your time and you see that, oh gosh, there's less than a minute left, randomly bubble problems till you get to the end, because it is a very frequent occurrence that students don't finish the test. And at least if you bubble, you've got a 1 out of 4 chance of getting it right. At the current time, there are 4 answer choices on the multiple choice problems. That is a recent change. It used to be 5, so a lot of the older practice problems, you'll see 5 answer choices. But either way, you've still got a better chance of getting it right by guessing than by leaving it blank, so just guess if you run out of time. Your work will be graded on the correctness and the completeness of your methods. So there's a free response section on the AP exam, and answers without supporting work may not receive credit at all. They don't want guessing on the free response. They don't want copying, of course. And so you have to show your calculus work. Now, that doesn't mean you have to show every step of arithmetic or algebra. But if you do a derivative, an integral, if you use a theorem we've learned this year, if you use a limit that we've learned how to do this year, then you have to show how you did that, what you did. Basically, if it's on one of your note cards for my class, you've got to show the work for that. Okay, so don't skip it, because even if you get the answer right, you may lose points, some or all, if you don't give the supporting evidence. And I'm going to be modeling that for you all year long, and I'm going to be expecting you to show that in your work as well on free response problems. Now, here's some problem solving advice. Read the problem, do the work, then read the problem again. Be sure that you have answered the question asked. For example, if the question asked you to provide the y-intercept and you gave the answer y equals 2, then your answer is wrong, because the y-intercept is a point and it must be written as a coordinate pair, in parentheses, 0 for the x-coordinate, comma, 2 for the y-coordinate. So you need to always go back and reread the question and make sure that you have answered the question they have asked in the format that is appropriate mathematically. Some information about calculators on the AP exam. You need to be sure that your calculator is set in radian mode all year long. This is assumed to be true on every problem on the AP exam unless you are explicitly instructed otherwise, which I have seen happen on 2 problems in the years I have been teaching calculus, but it is a rare occasion. And in most instances, you are just assuming you're in radian mode all year long, no matter what. If you press second plus 712 to clear your TI-84 graphing calculator, then it is automatically going to default to radian mode. It's the default setting. But you should be aware that I also teach other math classes, and so if I'm teaching a geometry class and we're doing problems in trig, we're going to be working in degree mode, and so you may need to double check and make sure your calculators are set in radian mode. Just clearing the memory when you pick one up is a good practice if you're using a shared calculator. Okay, on the AP exam, any decimal answers are to be rounded to 3 decimal places. Every single problem unless explicitly instructed otherwise, and they do occasionally say round to the nearest whole number or some other rounding instructions, but it will tell you to do that if they want you to do that. If it doesn't give rounding instructions, it's supposed to be to 3 decimal places, and that is true in my class as well all year long. So please don't ask me how many decimals to round to. I'm going to say you need to know this for the AP exam. It's 3 decimal places, okay, all year. Now, the only things that you are allowed to use your calculator on the AP exam for are graphing, finding a derivative at a specific x value, finding a definite integral, solving equations, which can include calculating the zeros and the intersections of graphs. So like when a function is equal to 0 or a function is equal to another function. You should never use your calculator to do any regressions. That is not a legal move. You are going to be skipping steps that they expect to see you do using calculus. So there are really only 4 things that you should be using your calculator to do, and we will be doing these 4 things throughout the year and practicing them so that you're familiar with those capabilities of your calculator when the time comes. Your work and your justification must be mathematical. It should never, ever be in calculator or language or syntax. So you should not say, I put the function in y equals and use the calculator to find the zeros. Even though you can do that, this is calculator language, and we don't want to use calculator language. We don't want to talk like button pushers. We want to talk like mathematicians. So what you do say is that f of x is equal to 0 at x equals 2.47 and x equals 1.752. So you've set the equation equal to 0 and you've solved it, okay? Yes, you use the calculator to do that. They know you use the calculator to do that because look at the answers. You couldn't come up with those kinds of answers without using the calculator. It's quite obvious, but they don't want you to talk about the calculator. They want you to talk about the math. The calculator is just a tool in the process of doing math. Now, in the AP exam, you are not allowed to round off answers until the very final answer. So say there's an intermediary step that you go through before you get to the final answer. You can't round off that middle step. So you want to store that number in your calculator if it's a calculator problem in order to use it again. That way you're pulling all the digits, not the rounded off version where you create some error in your answer. So if you hit the store button, which it says STO, and then it has a little arrow, and then type alpha and any letter, you can store that answer as whatever letter you want it to be. You can make it the same letter as it represented in the problem, or you can use your initials or whatever you want. But you want to store it as that letter, and then instead of typing that number in again, you can just type alpha and then whatever letter you chose, and then do the math you had to do there times 5,622 or whatever you have to do to it. You will be doing it to all the digits stored in your calculator by using that alpha letter instead of the rounded off number that the calculator gave you and that you wrote down like in an abbreviated form. Okay, the most common AP calculus test errors are: number 1, the worst thing premature rounding. Okay, do not do any premature rounding. Do not round off an answer and use that rounded off answer to find another answer. Okay, you have to only round your final answer. That's the only one that can be rounded. Number 2, simplifying incorrectly. On the AP exam, you do not have to simplify your answers on the free response questions. So if you had the right answer and then you simplified it incorrectly, now your answer is wrong because they're going to take your final answer in your work. So just don't simplify so that you don't have to worry about simplifying incorrectly on the free response questions. Units. Okay, on the AP exam, there's a lot of word problems on the free response questions, and if they say include units on your answer, then the units are part of the answer. They're graded with the answer. They must be correct in order for the answer to be correct. If they don't say include units on your answer, then no units are required. But if they are included, they're considered to be part of the answer. And so if the units are wrong, then the answer is marked wrong, even though you didn't have to have units. So the moral of the story is don't put units on the answer unless you have to. And if you have to, make sure that they're right because they are part of your answer. All right, number 4 is a little bit interesting, kind of hard to figure out at a first read. It's the word it. You are not allowed to use the word it on the AP exam. You must use some type of specific description of your noun so that the AP readers know that you know what you're talking about, because they know what it's supposed to be, but they need to know that you know what it is supposed to be. So for example, if you say, it has x-intercepts at 2 and 4. What has x-intercepts at 2 or 4? Is it the original function? Is it the derivative of the function? Is it the integral of the function? Is it the composition of that function with another function? What are you talking about? So say f of x has x-intercepts at 2 and 4, or whatever. You need to name the function or name the derivative of the function. Name what it is. Don't just say it. Or it has a slope of whatever. Okay, derivatives mean slope, and you know, we talk about them a lot, but you cannot say it has a slope. What has a slope? Does f of x have a slope? Okay, you need to be specific. The most common AP Calculus test error number 5 is answering in the wrong space. So on the free response section of the AP exam, they give you ample workspace. It's probably close to half of a page for each problem. Unless it's a lengthy problem, then it might be a whole page of workspace for a specific part of a problem. Nobody runs out of room to work on the problem on the AP exam. But if you are doing number 2 part B, the work for number 2 part B needs to be in the space under number 2 part B. If you put it in number 2 part A or number 2 part C or number 2 part E, they are not going to count it correct because they are going to think that you didn't really know what work was required for that part. Now let's say that you accidentally went off on a tangent on part A and you did some work that you actually realized, oh, that belongs in part B. Then what you need to do, you don't have to recopy it because you're on a time test. In part B, you need to write the work for this problem is located in number 2 part A, and make a little note so they know where to look, and then identify it. Work for number 2A or work for number 2 part B is right here up there so that they know. But if you don't leave them a note specifically directing them to your work and it's in the wrong space, then it's going to be like you didn't do that work. So make sure that the work that supports that answer is in the space that's provided for that part of the problem. Number 6, most common AP Calculus test error is not using your graphing calculator. There are graphing calculator problems on both the multiple choice and on the free response, okay? everything that I teach you in AP Calculus this year, I'm going to teach you how you could do it with the calculator or without the calculator. We'll probably spend more time doing it without because there's more involved and it probably requires more practice, but you will know how to do both ways on every problem. And that's what the College Board expects from me as an AP Calculus teacher, that I teach you both ways. But on the calculator portion, they often give you some problems with some yucky numbers and some challenging functions. And you are going to know how to do them by hand. And if you were to do them by hand, you would be eating a lot of time that could be used on working more problems so that you don't run out of time. So a big error is not using your graphing calculator when you could use your graphing calculator, thereby causing you to lose time and run out of time to finish the test. So you may run out of time anyways, even if you use the calculator everywhere you're supposed to, but you don't want to make the mistake of not using that calculator when you really would be benefiting yourself to use it. And that's what they're expecting you to do. Okay, when it comes time to study for the AP exam, look at released exams for practice. Go to AP Central, Google it, and just click on the button on the left that says AP Courses and Exams. Go to the course homepages for AB or BC Calculus, and then under AP Exam Information and Resources, you will find released exams and practice exams. We are going to do a lot of practice problems in this class. We have much more time for reviewing in AB than in BC, but in both courses you would be setting yourself up for more success by doing a little bit of on your own practice of released exams, checking your answers. The answers are uploaded, and just, you know, getting some extra review and practice done before the AP exam. Now, before you take your AP exam, put new batteries in your calculator. Did you know that if you tell your calculator to find intersections of two functions and the functions are kind of yuck, which they do give you yucky functions on the AP exam, and your batteries are running low, that you'll see these little lines on the top right that look like it's just kind of scrolling in a circle, and it's like your calculator's thinking, I'm thinking, I'm thinking, I'm thinking, and it takes it a while sometimes to find that intersection point. Well, if you put brand new batteries in your calculator, it actually does those calculations faster. And so brand new batteries in your calculator for the AP exam can help with time. So I strongly recommend that you do that. If you're going to use a school calculator for the AP exam, they will not have brand new fresh batteries for you for that AP exam. So even if you're borrowing a calculator for the exam, I would buy a set of 4 AAA batteries and throw them in there for the exam, even if you want to take your batteries back out after it's over and put the old ones back in. It's just going to make you eat a little less time if you've got fresh batteries in that calculator to take the test. You definitely need to get a good night of sleep. Nobody operates their best if they're tired, if they're exhausted. Don't try to stay up late studying. If you don't know it by the night before the test, then you're just not going to know it. So just get some sleep. That's more important at that point. Also, you need to eat a healthy breakfast. Okay, I'm not talking about a donut. You need to eat something more substantial, something that stays with you, something that gives you energy for a sustained amount of time. Think about your food groups and try to get some variety so that you will feel good for a very strenuous and lengthy test. Things that you need to bring to your test. You need sharpened pencils. You need an eraser. You need snacks that are quiet and not messy. And some years there are proctors who say no snacks, so just be aware that that could be an issue, but most years they have allowed snacks in the room, so that is up to the proctor whether they want that or not, because you don't want to get food on your test. But as long as it's not like a noisy, rattly bag of chips or something, it's just something quiet that you can reach in and grab, maybe some grapes or something in a bag, that would be a good idea that's not messy and that is quiet. You want some water to keep yourself hydrated as you're going. You don't want to feel parched and like you need to get up and leave to go drink water. You do want some Kleenex. I've had a specific situation in a prior year where the students were testing in a room with no box of Kleenex. A student sneezed, was in desperate need of a Kleenex, and had to leave the room during the test to get Kleenex. And the student was not allowed to return to that portion of the test. So just have some. It's a good idea. Bring a jacket or a hoodie. You never know what the temperature is going to be like. You don't want to be freezing. Often it is cool, but sometimes it's hot, so you want to be able to remove it if you're hot. You want to be able to put it on if you're cold, so that's good policy. A calculator with new batteries. Even if you use a school calculator, bring some new batteries to go in that calculator. You want to wear a watch, but you don't want to wear an Apple Watch or a watch that, you know, connects to the internet. So just an old school, you know, Walmart. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but, you know, a regular watch. That's always a good thing to have. If you don't have one, you're going to need one for college too. So just have a regular old, cheapo, nothing fancy watch, in case the clock on the wall is malfunctioning, and so you can gauge your time. Some formulas to look over before the test. You have a stack of note cards, and you are going to be adding to them all year. And you're going to have everything that you need to have memorized for the AP exam on those note cards. You probably want to go over a few of those before you take your test. You probably by that point will know exactly which ones give you trouble, which ones are the ones that you forget and that are the ones that are harder for you to remember. You'll want to look over those before the test. Give yourself some confidence and give yourself that last bit of assurance that you know the things you're supposed to know. But then you'll have to put them away inside of your backpack at the opposite end of the room while you're taking the test. So you won't be able to have that close to you. While taking your test, don't let the points at the beginning of the exam keep you from getting points at the end. If you can do Part C without doing Parts A and B, do it. In fact, the parts sometimes rely on previous parts, but often they don't. So don't read the first part and go, oh my gosh, this one's so hard, I can't do it, and you know, think you can't do any of the parts. Because sometimes there's an easier one further on down, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to get those points, even if you couldn't do the first part. Now this is interesting. If you do have a part that relies on another one, and you need to import an answer from Part A, but you don't know how to do Part A, you can make an attempt at Part A so that you can import the possibly wrong answer and still get all the points for Part C. Now I'm going to warn you that I'm not going to grade my tests this way this year in this class because it would take me forever. And it's very generous on the part of the AP graders that they do this. But if you have a Part A answer and, you know, you didn't really know what you were doing and you got it wrong, and that answer had to be used in Part B or C, whatever that comes after that, they will rework that Part B or C part using your incorrect answer from Part A to see if you did the work that was correct for that, and you can still earn all the points even if you brought in a wrong answer. So that's pretty interesting and important to know. Then don't waste time erasing bad solutions on the free response section. If you decide you changed your mind about a solution, cross out the bad solution after you've written the good one. Crossed out work will not be graded, and if you have no better solution, you're better off just leaving the old answer there. It might be worth a point or two of work points. Sometimes you might have gone off on a tangent, but you did something right in there. They're looking for the stuff that's right. And if they find it, they're going to give you the points. But if you've crossed it out, they're not going to be looking at it at all. They won't. So you could have something that's correct in a crossed out section. It will not be graded. So just don't erase because there could have been something good there, and if you don't have anything better, you're better off with your messy work that possibly has a point or two worth of work points in there. Okay, the AP exam format, the entire time for the test is 3 hours and 15 minutes of testing. This is grueling. The only thing that's similar to it probably is like your SATs or something, but even on the SATs you switch back and forth between math and English. This is all math for 3 hours and 15 minutes, so it is exhausting. Everybody's just really tired afterwards. The first section that you go into will be multiple choice, and it will be with no calculator. You will have 55 minutes to do 28 questions. So almost an hour. That's about 2 minutes a question. Okay, so it's pretty fast-paced, and you know, all the answers are simplified in the answer choices, so you've got to know what you're doing to get through those no calculator questions. Section 1, Part B. It's also multiple choice, but this time you get to use your calculator. This one is 50 minutes, so pretty close to the same, just a little less time. And it's 17 questions, so they allow a little bit more time for your button pushing here. So you're going to be operating in the calculator, and there's fewer calculator questions than there are no calculator questions. The time is pretty close to the same. Then after you've done all of that, nearly 2 hours worth of work, you get one 10-minute break. And then you go to your free response section. You start with the calculator questions. You're going to have 2 questions and a half hour, so that's like 15 minutes per question. Now when we say 2 questions, it's like part A, B, C, D, you know, whatever alphabet soup. So it's not just like 2 questions. It's a multi-part. It'll give you a prompt, and it'll have several questions that come from that prompt on your free response calculator portion. So 2 questions, half an hour. Then they're going to tell you put your calculator away, and then you're going to have access to open up the free response no calculator questions. You'll have an additional hour to do 4 questions more. You actually still are allowed to work in those 2 calculator questions during this time, but without the use of the calculator. So it's still about 15 minutes per question with multiple parts on each question. And on all of these free response, your work is graded, and they're looking for specific things with a scoring guideline in your work. And as we get close to the AP exam, we will be looking at the grading rubrics and looking for exactly what work they need to see for each type of problem. And I'm going to be modeling that same kind of work with you throughout the course. So basically, if you work the problem the way I've taught you to work the problem, you'll be set up to earn all the points for the test. Now, the way that they score it is it's 50% for the multiple choice and 50% for the free response. So even though there's a whole lot more questions on the multiple choice than there are on the free response, they're weighted equally. So you're going to be feeling a little bit more tired by the time you get to the free response, but you don't want to drop off. You maybe want to bring yourself like something with some sugar in it to eat during this last part, so that you've got something to kind of give your brain a little bit of a boost, because you're going to be getting a little bit of fatigue setting in, and that free response section is still worth half the points. They score it where each free response is worth 9 points, and so there's 6 problems for a total of 54 points. So they just kind of set up a proportion, 108 points total that you can earn on the exam. Now, on the AP exam, you will get an AP score from 1 to 5. 5 is good, 1 is not. And each one of these scores correlates to a college recommendation. You definitely need to check with the colleges that you are applying to on this, because different colleges have different requirements. But this is what the College Board recommends based on these scores. A 5 means you are extremely well qualified to receive college credit. It's basically like getting a perfect score. A 4 means you are well qualified to receive college credit. It's also an excellent score. A 3 means they think you're qualified to receive a college credit that's considered passing. In the state of Texas, all public schools give you credit for any class that you earn a 3 or higher on. A 2 means you're possibly qualified to receive college credit. So you've shown quite a bit of understanding, but there may not be a score available for credit on that, depending on where you are. And on 1, no recommendation to receive college credit. You basically failed the test, okay? But a 2 is a D, and some schools might accept that. Probably very few, but it is possible. And a 3 is like a C, a 4 is like a B, and a 5 is like an A. It's like 100, okay? So I told you could earn up to 108 points total. That's the max that you could earn. You're probably not going to earn that. If you were, you'd be on the news if you made a perfect score on the AP exam. I have seen that happen before. It's very rare and almost impossible, I would say. But the fact that it has happened means it's not impossible, but unlikely. But basically, if your composite point total is somewhere between 68 points and 108 points, you will get a 5. Now, I've got a little star down here at the bottom. Scoring ranges vary slightly from year to year based upon the data the College Board receives about the test results. So some years it seems like the scores are kind of higher. They may push these up higher. Some years the scores fall kind of lower and they may dunk it down a little lower, but it's always pretty close to this. So this is ballpark estimate of what it will be. This correlates to a percent score from 63% to 100%. Do you realize what this means? If you make a 63 on the AP exam, it's the same as getting 100. You get a 5. That's like 2/3 of the questions right. So you miss a third of the test and you get a 5. If you get 52 to 67 points, which is a percent of 48 to 62, that's like half, you get a 4. Half right, half wrong, you get a 4. 39 points to 51 points, which is a percentage range of 36 to 47. So this is just a little better than a third. Just a little better than 1 out of 3 questions right on the AP exam and you pass. This is a challenging test. You can see how it might be a test where a lot of people even run out of time to finish. Do you have to finish to pass it? No. You really only have to get a little better than a third of your questions right. 33% would be a third, so this is 36%, and then all of a sudden you're passing, okay? And then last, 0 to 24%, which is 0 to 26 points. That's gonna get you a 1, and that's not gonna be a good thing. So, 27 to 38 points, 25% to 35% is a 2, which is like a D. So what I want you to think here is if you're like at about better than 33%, that means you're gonna pass, okay? If you are better than 67%, like 2/3, that means you're gonna make a 100 or a 5 on the AP exam. It's like really good, okay? So when I write my tests, as you go through this year, if I'm not making them where you might be feeling like you're only gonna get 2/3 of it right, then by the day you sit down on the AP exam, you might be feeling stressed and overwhelmed and like, this is way harder than I thought it was gonna be, and I don't want you to have that feeling. So in my class, I will be working you up towards curves like this. 67 goes to 100, 33 goes to 70. We won't start that way on day 1, but we will work towards that as we move through the year. You should feel the test getting increasingly difficult, increasingly hard to finish. More problems that are kind of making you apply your knowledge in a new way, synthesize some skills. that we didn't exactly put together in class, but that you have all the skills to do. Some thinking outside the box problems. I'm going to be throwing problems at you that will get you ready for this AP exam, but I'm not going to leave your grade like a 63 when on the AP it would give you a 100, okay? So I'm going to curve scores appropriately for the level of difficulty of the test, just like the AP College Board does, so that when you sit down to take your AP exam, you're not feeling like, I'm going to die, this test is so hard. Because I don't want you to have that feeling. I want you to have the feeling that Mrs. Heiss prepared me for this. I know how to take a hard test like this and come out on the other end with a good score. So that's what I'm going to be working with you on as we move through the year. And typically, my students do pretty well on this AP exam, especially those who apply themselves and do what I ask as far as completing homework assignments, studying note cards, you know, just doing the things that are required of the course. So, you should know that students who are in BC Calculus only will also get an AB subscore. It is actually possible to earn credit for either 1 or 2 semesters of college calculus with the BC exam. So like in college, you have a fall semester and you have a spring semester each year. And in the fall, you all have a course load, and in the spring, you change all your classes and you're taking different classes. So like most AP classes that you take in high school, like AP English or AP Psychology or, you know, whatever, AP Biology, you spend the entire school year, both fall and spring, doing what you would do in college in only 1 semester. So a year of high school is spent working on what you do in 1 semester in college. Well, in AP Calculus AB, we spend the entire school year working on what you would just take in the fall semester of college. But in AP Calculus BC, we're doing like Calculus 1 in the fall and Calculus 2 in the spring, and you are going to take a test that covers both of these. So it's going to have, actually, some of the questions are exactly the same as the AB test, but then there's additional ones that just cover Calculus 2. And they're going to give you what's called the AB subscore. So you're going to get a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on the AB subscore, and you're going to get a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on the BC exam. On the AB exam, it's just like the fall semester of college calculus, which is 1 whole course of calculus. But on the BC, it's both. So if you get a passing score on the BC test, 3, 4, or 5, you get credit for both, okay? But let's say you make a 1 or a 2 on the BC, then if you make a 3, 4, or 5 on your AB subscore, you would just get credit for the fall semester. So a lot of colleges too, if you know, most college credits are 3 hours of credit because they meet 3 hours a week. But calculus at a lot of schools is a 4-hour class. So it is possible, depending on where you go to school, to get up to 8 hours of college credit with this 1 BC calculus exam. So that's kind of interesting. A lot of credit to be earned with 1 tiny fee, especially considering that at most colleges, you're going to pay like $2,000 a class. So if you're getting both of these, that's like $4,000. And then the AP exam is only like 90 bucks or something. It's nothing compared to what you pay for it in college. And a lot of colleges are even more money than that. It's just depending on where you go. So, I mean, you can look that information up online and find out what the prices of classes are where you're going. But I told my personal children when they were taking their AP exams, if you pass even 1 AP exam in all of high school, you've paid for the fees for every other AP exam you take, because you've saved yourself a ton of money by taking and passing any AP exam. You pay off all the rest of the fees easily. So I strongly recommend that you take the test and that you study and that you save yourself some money, because college is expensive. All right, if you have any other questions about the AP exam, just let me know. Or just talk to the admissions office at whatever college it is that you're planning to go to, because they have a lot of information too. That's all for now. Have a great day. Bye.